Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 16, 2022 regular Board of Education meeting. I'm going to ask that you please join for the pledge and please stay standing. We have a Miss Caitlin Marr who's going to sing our national anthem for us tonight.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good job.
I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. All right. That was awesome.
We could start the meetings off like that every time.
Yeah, absolutely. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. All right. So, all right. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes from the Board of Education upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools? Approves the October 26, 2022 regular minutes. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. So we have a report from Mr. James O'Connor. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mrs. Vice President, Board of Education, Mr. Steinmel, ESM leadership. I'm here to provide an update on the lead in drinking water program that is a requirement here in New York State, specifically to some announcements that were recently made last month to the program. So if anybody who has toured our buildings has taken a look at the faucets in the bathrooms or in our hallways for where we allow our students to get drinking water, they'll notice there's a QR code next to all these locations. And these locations are actually inventoried, and their location and what they service, as well as their most recent lead testing information is available. So I encourage the community to take a look at our most recent tests for lead for all of our water outlets in all 5 of our schools. They are online at esmonline.org/facilities, and you can take a look at the most recent tests. So specifically, the most recent test, well, the program itself started in 2016, so you'll see a set of results there. You also see 2020 is the most recent set of results, and then in the future, the most recent, the next test that is due is in 2025. So you might be wondering why I'm here tonight. Last month, there was a change to the program. So the two major changes to the lead in water drinking program are the terms. So instead of testing our outlets every 5 years, we're now required to test them every 3 years. So in 3 years, which is in 2025, is when our next comprehensive water outlet tests are due. And the other attribute that has changed is the level of acceptable lead. So the threshold, which was previously 15 parts per billion per water outlet, is now changing down to 5 parts per billion. So that's important for a number of reasons. Specifically, we had roughly 34 outlets at the district back in 2020 test between 6 parts per billion and 15 parts per billion. So in theory, with the new requirements set in 2025, we wanted to get ahead of it and propose that these water outlets be tested and changed in advance of the next testing. So we think that it's being a good steward of the buildings to do that. I did put together some slides in terms of what we think it will do to our budget ask. The ESM Facilities Department will be here in roughly a couple of weeks to present next year's budget as a proposal. And within the context of that budget will be the first set of updates for this program. So we are estimating roughly 34 outlets, assuming everything stays the same, that may need to be changed. Roughly $750 per outlet. That is all inclusive of the water outlet, as well as potentially valves that may need to be changed, as well as piping. And then the retests. Each test is $100 per test. So in totality, the next 2 years, we think we'll spend roughly $25,500. We're going to split that over the next 2 years, at least propose to do that. And then at the end of the day, our expense for next year will be $13,000, and the following year will be $13,000. This will allow the district to be proactive, to address the need in an advanced manner, and comply with the updated requirements of the lead and water drinking program. So I wanted to communicate that to the board, also educate those as to why they may see that in our budget ask in a number of weeks. Again, what do we do in order to remediate an outlet? We take if you take a look at a water outlet, it has a strainer where the actual water comes out. That's the first step in remediation. Second step might be replace the entire faucet. Third step might be replace the valve assemblies underneath the actual cabinet. And then finally, if we have a big issue, maybe replace piping in the building itself. And in some cases, we do take water outlets out of service entirely. And in that case, we'll either identify a different location for a new water outlet or disabandon the location. So we've done all of those things in a number of last couple of years, but I'm not sure if the community is aware of how much we do in ESM facilities to keep our drinking water safe for our students. So again, just to finalize and circle back around, for those in the community who are interested, I encourage you to go online, esmonline.org/facilities. Take a look at our lead testing results. For those of you who have questions, my contact information is up on the screen. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to communicate with you tonight. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. O'Connor, I just have one request. Can you go back one screen?
Sure.
Do you have the ability to click on your link to show what you just mentioned to the community?
I will ask, maybe Charlie's able to do that.
And that'll show them the page that you're recommending, which I think is great.
So that's on our webpage, esmonline.org/facilities. The subset is /lead, and this is the content that I referred to during the presentation. You can see we have two sets of information up there. The main context is 2020s, and as you scroll down, you'll see 2016s. So that information is easily accessible online.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. The first is, the last time we tested was 2020, which would make the next 2025 based on a 5-year plan.
Correct.
But you said it was changed to 3.
Correct.
So my math says that would be 2023. Do they grandfather in the
Yeah.
current
Good question.
period?
Great question, great question. So the answer is yes, they do grandfather in. And as of October 7, 2022, the new term is 3 years. So plus 3 years from October 7, 2022, then puts us into October 7, 2025.
Gotcha. Okay. And do the fountains that you could fill up your water bottle,
Yes.
do they have filtration in them?
They do. Yes, they do. And those filters are, and as you probably already know, they do have little lights on them to tell you when the filters are in good shape and they're in
Like
the
my
immediate shape.
refrigerator yells at me when the film.
Yeah,
is
it's the same
heating.
yelling, yes,
Gotcha,
yes.
gotcha.
And that triggers us in facilities to then dispatch our plumber to make those changes.
Excellent, thank you.
So you're, based on the 2020 results, you're anticipating that these 34 outlets are going to not pass under the new requirements, so you're planning to address it then before the next test, or is it after the next test?
No, before the next test.
Before the
Yeah,
next
this is
test.
proactively. So we're not going to wait to the next 2 budget cycles in order to make the request for that sum of 25.5. We're actually doing that ahead of time to be proactive. Any other questions?
Mr. Goldhammer, anyone else? No? All right, thank you, Mr. O'Connor.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Always
you.
appreciate you. All right, we're going to move on to the EPC update from Johnson Controls and Energia.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us today. My name is Rob Burlston. I'm from Johnson Controls. It's great to be in front of you today. I know we embarked on an energy performance contract some time ago. We didn't enjoy as many face-to-face meetings as we would have liked due to some of the unforeseen circumstances with the pandemic. We have gotten SED approval on the project, and we would like to give you an update tonight on the next steps and what you can expect to see over the coming year or so as we implement the project. Just a quick recap of where we started and how we got to today. We embarked on a project with you here at Eastport to implement an approximate $18 million project that happened back at the end of 2020. During the development and design phase, we decided and presented to you a solution at the South Street Elementary School where we could bring in gas service for you. You're currently burning oil there. So we added that into the project prior to submitting to the State Education Department. Energia prepared the complete set of design and specifications on the project to review all the assumptions and analysis done by Johnson Controls. That was submitted in June 2022, and we got expeditious approval approximately 3.5 months later, which is very good. It was often that process could drag on much longer than that. So we're happy to say we got SED approval timely, and the RFP for financing was put out by the board, and bids came back. We anticipate closing, you guys anticipate closing on the loan in the early December, hopefully December 2nd, which then will allow us to sign a notice to proceed and mobilize on the project. We anticipate starting construction right before the upcoming holidays. We will have some materials available to start towards the end of December. Because of I'm going to go through some of the measures and remind everybody of what we're actually doing on the next slide, but because of the size of the project and the amount of buildings and the amount of work we're doing, it is going to take upwards of 18 months to complete. Obviously, you guys are a school district, you remain in session, we work nights, we work weekends, we work around your schedule so we don't impact the learning environment in any way. So it's a methodical approach to implement these retrofits so that we do not disturb the learning environment. Assuming everything goes smooth, which we anticipate, we would look to be approximately, we'd be substantially complete with the project in May of 2024, and some final coordination with a new roof going in at Eastport would be done over the summer of 2024, which will allow the entire project to be completed right in the fall of 2024. This slide has the 15 energy conservation measures that we're going to be implementing throughout the district. Some of them save more energy than others. Lighting is a big measure. It'll be a comprehensive lighting program throughout the district. We're going to eliminate the linear fluorescence, the T8 technologies that you have, and go with an LED solution. When we're done with the project, you'll have a reduced number of light fixture quantities and manufacturers. It'll be easier for facilities to maintain that energy efficient infrastructure going forward. Lighting is a big measure that saves a good amount of energy. It is something everybody will see, and that will be starting immediately. Weatherization, or the building envelope upgrades, is a measure where we look to tighten the building envelope, improve some weather stripping on doors, etc., just to allow us to set back the building with temperature controls and save energy. Energy management system is a system manufactured by Johnson Controls. You have Johnson Controls in most of your buildings here, and we'll upgrade on that existing infrastructure you have to save additional energy. Some motor replacements in select areas aren't energy efficient. We're going to upgrade them to an energy efficient motor, small measure, but provide some value for the school district. Pipe and valve insulation is exactly what it is. We're going to insulate on insulated pipes and valves, thus saving energy. The chiller replacement. This building's chiller plant is nearing its end of its useful life. We're going to be upgrading the chiller plant to a new chiller plant to ensure you can provide adequate cooling for not only the staff but the children throughout the school district here in this building. Some of the other measures before we get to the solar are small in nature: refrigeration, compressor controllers, transformers. Some of the things that nobody sees. It happens in the background. It saves some electric energy and provides valuable upgrades for the school district. The solar was a big part of the project, that, as everybody knows, we're going to be looking to not only reduce the energy, but now produce enough energy to reduce your consumption down to near zero levels. So when we're done with this project, your energy bills are going to be substantially low, which is a great thing. All the schools are going to get solar. You guys do have some solar here at Tuttle, at one of your schools at Tuttle already. We are going to do additional solar at Tuttle, and all the schools will be getting solar. At Tuttle, we're going to do some recommissioning on the BMS system to improve its functionality. It's a newer building, but there is some improvements that can be made to save energy, ensure setbacks are happening. Some plug load controllers are some devices that go on some select window ACs and ancillary equipment for us to shut them down through a Wi-Fi network, so that when the buildings are unoccupied, you're not wasting that energy just plugged in when no one needs to use it. Vending machine controls are a small measure that optimizes the vending machine throughout the school and saves some energy. A couple of schools are getting domestic hot water replacement. The high school in South Street, as part of the South Street conversion I spoke about, we're going from an oil-fired hot water heater to a condensing hot water heater. Now that we'll have gas available for you to operate on, that is a great long-term solution. And the AC compressor controls is also an economizer that saves energy on some of your packaged rooftop units. The next slide is just the same measures, but what it was at the other three buildings. But I basically talked through all the measures. If there is any questions the board might have, I could attempt to answer any of them.
No, but forgive me, I did want to say ahead of time, and I feel like I want to say this every time someone comes in to present. We have your presentation on the computers, so we're reading along. I didn't want you to think we're being rude, but we're following through. But any questions from any board members? Mr. Goldhammer.
So for ECM 10, with the carport layout,
Yes.
we're going to do that in conjunction with school time, or because once we build those, we're going to have to decommission the entire parking lot for the high school students, right?
Not exactly. It happens in steps. First step is we put concrete in the ground. We drill a hole and we pour concrete and rebar. And then after that, we do that and select breaks and weekends. After that happens, the steel is fabricated off-site and brought here as needed. We erect the steel from 3 to 11 in select locations around your approved schedules. And then we lay out the modules at 3 to 11. The solar work takes a long time to complete. So it's not something that can be done in a 1 or 6 week summer window. It is a continuous process, but we work with small crews on approved hours where we wouldn't impact your ability to function. So
I'm not so worried about the ability to function, I'm just more worried about the ability for students to park cars at the high school.
correct.
Since the entire student parking lot, we're erecting solar carports. As far as like job sites, I've been on a million job sites. As far as security and fencing and everything going up, that's all gonna be handled and put up ahead of time so we don't have any students going in there and mitigating any sort of risk
Correct.
towards the construction itself.
So the construction area is always left in a manner where safety is taken into account. So the work, when we give it back that night, it's a functioning space in the morning. We don't take the parking lot away from you for any extended period of time. If that makes sense.
It doesn't make sense, but
Well,
I mean, in theory it makes sense, but when you're pouring cement and it has to dry in spots that were parking spots, that spot cannot be used later on. So that would have to be roped off and then secured so that no one's getting in there.
Right, so the spot where we pour the concrete has a form over it as it dries, and you don't lose the spot where the form is as it dries. But in some areas, such as the student parking lot, if we determine it's not feasible to do the concrete during the non-breaks, we would schedule the high volume parking areas over breaks so that all the concrete is done when the school is not in session. So
Yeah, I'm just looking forward, not looking forward, but I'm actually projecting ahead to, okay, well, will we be able to tell the administrator in that building, okay, this whole side is gonna be closed for the next 2 months? Just some sort of constant communication, which I'm sure you'll have, and then proper security around those areas. Because our security personnel, I don't think would be trained to deal with a construction site and the dangers that exist during construction, right? So just wanna make sure that Johnson Control is going to provide a secure and safe construction site for our students.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No, I appreciate you coming down to speak to us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Off to reports announcement from Superintendent, Mrs. Steinmel.
Yeah, I'd like to move right along, because I know they've been waiting, to our student ambassadors. So I think we are supposed to have Chris Carter and Alyssa to come on up to the front. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Messino, and I'm a student ambassador. Thank you for allowing us to share our new school activities. First, on October 31st, we had a student ambassador training where we got to know each other better, and we learned new circle training techniques, and we plan to use those throughout the school. And next, congratulations to Bethany Jones and William Stanton for working hard and earning Employee of the Month at their BOCES district. And lastly, in our art program, students are preparing for upcoming exhibits at the Long Island Museum in Stony Brook and in the Parish Museum in Watermill. Good luck to the drawing and painting students who recently submitted artwork into the Shanti Fund Annual Peace Art Competition. Finally, AP art students have been asked to paint the Starbucks windows for the upcoming holiday season.
That's great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Bruno, and I'm a junior here at ESM. And before I start, I just want to thank you for Mr. Stamel, the superintendent, and the Board of Education for letting me speak. As you're all aware, I'm here to inform everyone of all the great things currently happening here at our school that just passed during this fall season and upcoming events. This brings me to first one Halloween event that just passed, our Boo Ball Dance that was hosted by our Best Buddies Club. It was a huge success and the students had a wonderful time. Schools and their similar Best Buddies Club from all over Suffolk County attended the dance here at our school with many districts in attendance and all giving positive feedback. With that, yesterday our school hosted the Junior Parent Night, a presentation given in the auditorium to the parents of the junior class where everyone can go watch, as higher education is in the very near future of all of our juniors. The college application and search process were explained in depth, along with how the standardized testing system works and how to excel and achieve your highest score possible. Tomorrow, I, along with a handful of other student ambassadors, are going on a field trip to Center Reach High School to attend the Compassion Without Borders event, where the impact of bullying will be taught and how to be a supporting member of your community and help those impacted. The point of this is to help improve our ability as student ambassadors. In our athletic department, we have many great things going on. Most importantly, on November 9th, we had our senior signing day, where 7 of our senior athletes all signed and committed to their college of their choice, all to play lacrosse. These students are Jesse Wyke, Pat Murphy, Mike Messina, Julia Moriso, Mia Forte, Bryden McGuire, and Gianna Jacqueline. 2 days ago, on November 14th, all of our winter tryouts and sports have started, where 215 high schoolers and 116 junior high students all have signed up to play, which are a pretty decent chunk of each of their respective student bodies. We hosted our annual football Power Buff game, where select girls from both the junior and senior class. Each team was coached by our varsity football players. They all had their own flag football game, where the seniors ended and came out on top on the end. In our theater department, the students involved produced, wrote, and organized the play in only 5 days. Coincidentally, it was called the 5-day play, and it was given out, and there was an amazing turnout where almost every single day our theater was completely sold out of tickets, and it was giving great feedback from our whole community.
My name is Carter Cosentino. Of course, thank you all for this opportunity to talk as a student ambassador for the student body, superintendent, and the Board of Education, of course. But first and foremost, I want to start off with some events that have gone in place in the start of the year. This includes the junior high Halloween dance, which of course is 7th and 8th grade, as transitioning into the high school. Obviously, it's a bit hard to, understand on what's happening. So to ease up the pressures and all that, this was a really good event for them, I said. Great attendance. It was ran by Mr. Papa Michael in the cafeteria. I've heard from some of my friends and little siblings that they had a lot of fun, and hopefully in the future they'll continue. We had the Harlem Wizards attend again. Of course, versus teachers, that's always great to watch, a bit embarrassing, but always fun. It was an amazing turnout, a lot of energy just from the crowd and just the entertainment from the Wizards as well. And next, as juniors, me and Chris, we attended the college fair, which was for 11th and 12th graders during 6th period. And there was over 75 vendors there, which of course is a lot of tables, and which gave me, of course, and as well the rest of the student body, a good opportunity to see who I want to go to, where I want to go to, and questions that I have to ask regarding those colleges. I'd like to continue with athletics. The fall season did just end. We've had many playoff teams attend. This includes boys volleyball, which made it to the county championships, girls volleyball, girls soccer, girls field hockey, and boys golf. In states, we had one girl in girls cross country, Anna Gansro, make it, and 5 total cross-country runners, all made all-county. I'd like to highlight an aspect of the student body that we've been doing more often. The Spotlight Athletes interviews. It is ran monthly. Interviews by students to notable student athletes for frequently asked questions about their sports, how they overcome their sports, and just some random fun-time things for the sports. It's present on the athletics page on the esmonline.org. It's already been posted for the month of November. This includes Bridie McGuire for girls soccer, Owen Engelhart for boys golf, Brooke Keitel for girls cross country, and Christina Shodenko for girls tennis.
Thank you so much.
Who produced those videos? I saw them, they're really,
Yeah, sorry. It's produced by the sports and literature class.
so our own kids made those videos
Yes.
with the intros and all that stuff?
Yes.
That was awesome.
You guys make me self-conscious because you speak better than I do. This is unbelievable. I'm so impressed with the way that you guys speak to us. Thank you so much.
They might edit
Thank you
videos.
for all.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you so much. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to curriculum, to the Leader in Me presentation this evening. Welcome to our administrative staff. I always feel like every time we have presenters that are outside the district, do they know that we're looking at their presentation on our computers? I always feel awkward, like they're looking at us, and I'm like, pay attention. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Board President, Mrs. Vice President, Board of Education trustees, we'll take an opportunity to thank you for welcoming us back after our last presentation at the previous Board of Education meeting. I'm grateful to be here with my colleagues, Mrs. Zambelli, Dr. Watkins, Mr. Jackson, and Mr. Fabian, just to provide some context and some perspective and insight into our Leader in Me partnership. They characterize Leader in Me as a journey, and it certainly has been a journey for Eastport South Manor. So my colleagues at this dais with me, and then I know some of the teachers that are behind me, if I use the term that Dr. Stephen Covey does in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, our circle of influence and our circle of concern, there might be some people running for the door, because it's something I've said time and time again over my career. And so the Leader in Me is grounded in the work of Dr. Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which in turn his son Sean took that seminal work and wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, which has been used worldwide and instrumental in support of our middle-level students. And then that translated to our youngest children. And Sean Covey then wrote the 7 Habits of Happy Kids. So the Leader in Me structure is based on those habits, which are proactive, be proactive, begin with the end in mind. First things first, think win-win, seek to understand, then be understood, synergize, and sharpening the saw. And just a little context into our journey, it really, forgive me, I'm going to start with a brief video that gives an overview of the Leader in Me process. How am I doing, Charlie? There we go. Is that you, Charlie, or is that me?
That's me.
Okay. You're going to click it one more time.
What is Leader in Me? You look in the eyes of your students, and you can see their need for security and hope in a future largely unknown. Their desire to belong. and to matter. You can see the hunger and the hurt. You look in the eyes of your families and you see trust, delicately given, that you will take their place for these hours to nurture the worth and potential of their most cherished, to partner in teaching and raising well. You look in the mirror and you see a tiredness, driven by the fire to change lives and not enough time to do it. A striving to guide and teach and not enough balance to support it. A hope that the learning they need is the learning you can provide. And when you look at school today, what do you want to see? Leader in Me isn't as much about doing things differently as it is first seeing them differently. When one principal reimagined what school could be for her students, her teachers, families, for her community, who would have thought that vision would see over 5,000 schools around the world, transforming how they proactively create the learning culture they want to see in their buildings. And yet, here we are. And you're invited to join this community of seeing the power of leadership as a choice rather than a position, one that everyone makes every day, of enjoying the discovery and unlocking of genius, where everyone contributes rather than competes, of making change happen because you've stopped waiting for someone else to start it, of adventuring into the satisfaction of classroom leadership and away from the stress of classroom management, of taking the talk of whole child learning into whole person teaching practice, and getting hands-on with real social emotional learning at school and at home that doesn't shortchange academic growth, but turbocharges it. Leader in Me isn't easily undertaken or quickly done, yet you're seeing what needs to change, and you're taking steps to make it happen. You're doing what propels you in this profession, helping others see what they don't yet see in themselves. Thank you, and welcome to the adventure of Leader in Me.
Thank you, Mr. Ackerman. So it's been said that the Leader in Me is like the mortar that the bricks of our school building are constructed with. It is the opportunity and a structure and a system to tie everything we do together through the paradigm and the lens of student leadership. And for ourselves, as a Board of Education and school building and district administration, we attended a Leader in Me symposium in Brooklyn, New York in 2015. And so we started to examine this partnership 7 years ago for a number of variables, some structural, some cost-related with how Franklin Covey and Leader in Me at the time actually organized their partnerships. It was a challenge for us to enter into a formal partnership, but we started to actually build it from the ground up ourselves. And so we initially looked to embed it into our existing PBIS structure, and we started to incorporate the 7 habits. I see one of our library media specialists is here this evening, and we started to actually have monthly themes through our library media centers and specialists that initially taught the 7 habits. And since we didn't have a formal partnership, we essentially created it ourselves. So it wasn't ideal, it may not have been perfect, but it was ours. And so our kids started to use the language of the 7 habits. We started to teach it explicitly in our buildings. So although we didn't have a formal partnership, for the last 5.5 years, it's really something that we've been committed to and that we've been doing. So in July of 2021, when we were at Tuttle Avenue School as elementary administration doing kind of a summer planning retreat, Dr. Watkis, to my left, was like, I have this, I'm gonna have to take a break at 10 o'clock because I scheduled this meeting with somebody from Leader in Me because I want to learn more about how we could possibly formally partner with them. And I was like, oh, what'd you do? And so the four of us here now, and now Tom, we took that 10 a.m. break and we were on a Zoom call with Renee Ailing from Leader in Me for about an hour and a half. And by August 25th of 2021, we had entered into our formal partnership. And so last year, on demand, we had some in-person training for our Lighthouse teams, and then on-demand staff development in what they call Core 1. This year, we've already had in-person staff development for our Lighthouse teams, and on Superintendent Conference Day, November 8th, we had Core 2 training for all of our faculty and staff in our K-6 building. So this is our second formal year of partnership with Leader in Me, and we are super excited in terms of what we've done, where we are, and what's to come. So it's now my pleasure to turn it over to Mrs. Zambelli.
Good evening. So as Dr. Christie said, yes, when I arrived at Tuttle, I was lucky enough that the journey had already begun. So the language was already embedded, my staff knew the language, so I kind of arrived, and what we did is we had monthly themes. So as Dr. Christie showed before, we had Being Proactive was October, we had, Think Win-Win was another month. So when we started those monthly themes, it's almost like that's where the base began, and then we just started to build on that. So what we do now is we've embedded this language, and really it's about the language and modeling for the kids, but the language is built into the daily announcement, so the kids hear it over and over again. Our weekly assemblies, I still do my story time for Mrs. Zambelli, so my weekly assemblies, my books are always related to one of the habits or one of the themes that we're talking about. So for example, this week is our World Kindness Week. So every day we're talking about kindness, we're talking about how you can help others, how you can treat others. Today we did gratitude walks. So this morning I got on a quick call, I read a book to the kids about being thankful, and then around the building, there were just little signs for the kids to say, what am I grateful for? It could have been the sun, it could be the sky, it could be what are your family, what part of your family you're thankful for, but it's all these things that we do every day that keep it in the forefront for our children. So those weekly assemblies, we do not only virtually, but I do live. So we do our leadership assemblies when we're recognizing children for the things that they've done. And one of the things we've done with those monthly leadership recognition assemblies, we're trying to get people around the building, our staff, because I do have wonderful staff, but when they recognize that the children are doing some of these things, we've actually started to hand out postcards. So these are the postcards that actually Mr. Steinmel gave us a few years ago that have pictures of our schools on them. And what we do is we want, when someone sees somebody doing something really well, I add it to my presentations, and then I mail the postcards home so parents can see what the children are doing. So it's almost this whole circle of things that we're trying to do. We also started, when we went to Kentucky this summer, all of the administrative team, one of the presentations we went to was about building leaders. And it was a great read, and it was a great book. And the presenter really explained, how do you build leaders? And he kept saying to us, doesn't matter the age, they can be kindergarten to high school, you can build leaders. So we've tried to start doing this in the building. So we have bus sign holders where every day they come down, they know they have to grab the letter of their bus, go outside and basically stand there and hold the bus sign. And as simple as that, it helps our dismissal process because teachers now can see where the buses are. We have a good eye, who's not here, what bus is missing. And it really works well, but the kids know now. They come down, they grab their signs, they go outside. If somebody's not there, usually they know a child comes in and they jump in their place, so we know there's somebody holding the signs. They're also in charge of our books on the bus. So they're the ones, we have bins that go on the bus so the kids can read, so they're the ones who are picking the books, and they're the ones who are putting the books on the bus. We also have morning announcements where the kids are chosen, so they fill out their job applications, we choose the children, they're hired, postcards go home so they know which children have been hired, and they come down for morning announcements. One of the things that's really interesting though in this whole journey, it is about control, and I'm in control for us. Because even when the children come down, it's hard, you have to let them do it. So I stand back and behind and I try not to interject. They have little things to help them, they have signs, they have little cards, they have things. I might point to them to say who goes, but I try not to let my voice be heard on the announcements unless I need to. So that's really been a really fun journey, and it's usually between 4 or 5 children who are doing that. The greeters are now our new job, where the children are chosen. Again, they filled out applications where they're going to greet the children as they come into the building. So they're going to stay there for the morning when the kids come off the bus, but also for my UPK kids, where they're going to greet them as they come in. And their second job is to distribute or to send out all the birthday cards. So we have little birthday cards and birthday gifts that each child gets. That's going to be their job after they made their the announcers made their announcements. So that has been a really fun journey. And it's interesting the systems that have to be put in place to get this. So this whole thing of Leader in Me, it is so many layers, but it really does give the kids the power. And that's really what this is about. Our Core 2 training was actually really good when we had Superintendent Conference Day, because it was the entire staff. And one of the things that I learned, and I don't think I would have been able to learn that if this didn't take place. So when I sat with my aides at one table and we were going around and the presenter was saying, find out what was going on. So I sat with them and we talked about what they were seeing. And one of the things they told me that actually made my entire day was that we talked to the kids about some of these habits, and we talked to the kids about not leaving children out, including others. They told me that they're starting to see that in the cafeteria, and they're starting to see that on the playground. They said they actually see kids going over to other kids and asking them to join in. And if anything, that to me is making a difference. So all of this to me is, again, as I spoke last time, it's really addressing the social and emotional needs of our children, and that's what's going to help them become better learners. So this whole program is really designed for everything, for the children, and their academic needs are really going to be fulfilled when we have them at a place where they can learn. So, and then the next thing we're doing is the leadership journals, which all of us are doing. We're going to be starting to discuss those for the next year, because that's, again, a time for the kids to be able to brag and show off what they can do. And the one other thing that the Leader in Me, their website has done this year, which is new, is they've actually placed lessons that support all of those habits. So our teachers right now are kind of just feeling those out. They're going through the lessons and they're trying to choose which ones they really want to use, because again, if we can get them to continue to use the language, we're using it in our announcements, and then the kids are using the language, that's again how we're going to lift this, and we're going to move children. So that's what's happening at Tuttle. And sorry, Dr. Walkus is next.
Good evening. I feel like there's going to be some repeat happening here, but that's okay. So just like a Tuttle, over the past few years, what we've been doing is teaching each habit, a habit each month. We start off in October. September we use it just to establish, building expectations, just general things. And then we move in to a habit a month starting in October. So throughout the month, we remind students of, what that specific habit is and how it can be demonstrated. And of course, when students are meeting these expectations and, just shining and glowing in a lot of different ways, they're rewarded with shark bites. And I don't know if anybody can really imagine the joy that a shark bite brings to a child. And then when you're able to go to the Shark Cart and redeem them for, various things, do not have anything to do if third grade is redeeming, because those little shoppers, they're very thoughtful. And it takes a while, right teachers? It takes a while because they're very thoughtful about what they can get and how they can store up. And you see academics pouring in because it's math, addition, subtraction, they have a system. But those shark bites really get our students motivated. So throughout the month, we have our TVs, and there's, usually a slide on the slideshow that addresses the habit of the month. We start off by talking as a school. So like last year, we did a lot of Google Meets to start off. This year, we have been able to do some in-person, and we're still going to keep on doing those. And then, of course, the teachers keep it going in the classrooms. So you walk into classrooms and you see all the Leader in Me language displayed. You see, their posters, and they're really keeping the habits going in their classrooms. So this year, my Lighthouse team, we discussed, what we typically do, and we agreed that in order to keep on building those happy kids, that we really need to move a little bit more into like really intentionally teaching those habits. So we want to make sure that we have happy kids who are aware of good habits, who can become effective teens and effective adults. That's the end point, right? So we have this nice little plan created where between the classroom and what happens in the library, that our students will be exposed to very intentional lessons. And then, like I said before, as you know, we're doing that, we're happy to acknowledge students who are demonstrating these great habits that we're talking about. So there's shout outs for them. Leader in Me has little rewards, pencils and bracelets and such, that the students are able to get for demonstrating those habits. And there's nothing like student hearing their name on the announcements being read by a peer, and they come down to the office. You would think that we were giving away like $1 million checks, but for a child, that is $1 million, because you have people who are recognizing, hey, look at this, she did a lot, because did a great job this month. So, you know, that is where we are. And it's always like a really big win when in March, you hear a student actually talking about being proactive, and that was like back in October. That was the habit that we really focused on then. And as Ms. Zambelli mentioned, Superintendent's Conference Day, like that was a great day of learning. It was awesome learning with my staff, teachers, instruction, non-instruction staff, everybody together learning. And when people coming up to you and say, that was really good. We had great presenters. You know, I had a great one, and that's what I hear from everyone. When people are coming up and talking about what a great day of learning, like that is awesome. So that was a great win, and that means that at this point, whether a child is in their homeroom, classroom, specials, lunch, recess, wherever they are, all adults are on the same page. We're using the same language, and it creates a really good sense of consistency for our boys and girls because everybody's speaking the same language. In the spring of last year, families were invited to complete our measurable results assessment, and we reviewed that as a Lighthouse team, and then also with our faculty. And we used those results to set some small goals for ourselves, things that we want to improve on as a building. And by improving, you know, by working on those goals, it will work to increase a child's sense of belonging and our school culture. And, you know, again, when a child's SEL needs, when they really feel like they belong and they're part of this community, academics does come into play. So we're working on just creating that kind of environment for our students. And finally, you know, the big goal is really helping students to realize that they are leaders. And again, doesn't matter how old you are. So third graders, yes, some of them have been really empowered and have risen to the challenge much quicker than others. But we are really working on helping our students to be leaders. And I'm really, really proud of my teachers because together we were able to brainstorm and, you know, look at the resources that are available in Leader in Me's website and use our time with our coach to come up with some awesome leadership roles for our students in classrooms, building-wide, and then recently we rolled out this week on the buses also. And, you know, just to wrap it up, I'm proud of the teachers, but I'm proud of those boys and girls because they have stepped up and they're bringing their A game every day as they embrace this new role of being a leader. And it's, you know, shoulders up and straight and tall, and they're just doing their thing, and it's really, really awesome. So for me, going into classrooms, walking around the building, I feel really nice when I see our students and we're able to just recognize their genius and their talents every day. And I will stop talking because I can literally talk more, but I think Mr. Jackson and Mr. Fabian will be mad because then they won't have anything to talk about. So take the mic away.
What Dr. Walker said. So after moving to this area for our schools, one of my first experiences as a parent was with Leader in Me. I remember I was trying to work through a scenario at home, and my now 8th grader, who was in 2nd grade, said, "Dad, you're not putting first things first." And I stopped, and it resonated with me, and I looked at him, sorry, what? So it was really like my first experience with it, and I thought I knew a lot about Leader in Me just from asking him questions that year, and it wasn't until I became a principal I realized how deep it goes. I'm very proud of the journey that we've been on with Leader in Me. One of the things that's shared with us when we're working with the Leader in Me staff when they come to do training is they are amazed at how well we've done on our own. That's been shared with most of us at some point. They can't believe how far we were able to do it without that commitment. And this is just infusing it that much more to take it that next step. Across our elementary buildings, we've aligned the introduction of the 7 habits, so the same habit is shared each month in each of the buildings. It was a little off. It obviously followed the same pattern, but we're doing things slightly different in each building. The children are having different experiences, but are aligning with the same habit. We want to reinforce these habits and provide children with a variety of experiences to target the corresponding goals for that habit. For instance, habits 1 through 3, they emphasize more personal habits to build leadership capacity. And then habits 4 through 7 are the interpersonal habits for building strong relationships. Each month, at the end of the month, the staff will nominate and put forward students who are living the habits in their everyday lives at South Street, and we will recognize them in our leadership assembly to close out each month. This year, with much help from our wonderful teachers at South Street School, much greater emphasis was placed on the development of our morning greeters, who lead us in our daily announcements. The things that they'll share are the day's message with the entire school, leading us in the daily Pledge of Allegiance, highlighting the calendar for the day, as well as what number day it is in our schedule, sharing birthday wishes with their classmates, as well as special South Street news for that day or that week. Now, this can be very challenging for K-2 students, as many of our children are still learning how to read. So there's a considerable amount of practice that goes into this and preparing them to do this, and they come down each day. The way that we have it cycling around is, we'll have the 2nd grade go, all the 1st grade goes, and then we have all 2nd grade go again with all the 1st grade going. It's simple because it basically allows the kindergartners to have a little extra time to learn how to read. So they'll be coming in next, and I can imagine that they're going to do a fantastic job as well in their own right. Extending on this, we're trying to generate even more opportunities for the children to assume leadership roles throughout the school, throughout the day. Tomorrow, the first 3 members of our principals' Lighthouse leadership team are going to actually give a tour to an incoming classmate. I've been thinking about this for a while, and it came back around when we were in Kentucky, as Mrs. Zambelli was sharing at that workshop, really relinquishing that control and letting the kids drive. When you're thinking of 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, that can be a little nerve-wracking. But I was proud of myself today. I had them come down, I gave them very simple instructions, and I let them go. And then I had to make an announcement over the radio for every monitor in every hallway that these 3 kids are okay to walk around for the next 10 minutes. There were some people coming back with, "Are you sure?" It took a lot, but they came down. There were 3 1st graders. They were going to be, this little boy's going to be joining their class. And I gave them a clipboard, and I put the first thing down, main office. That's the first thing that child will see when they come in tomorrow. And I told them, go left, go right, go whichever way you want to go in the building. Make a list of the best things about South Street that you want to show Thomas tomorrow. And that's it. They went, they came back, and they had told Mrs. Carvelli that they were done with their plan for tomorrow, and she was to give it to me when I was finished. And it was all different colors, and it was wonderful to see. They really had a fantastic highlight for bringing this little boy in tomorrow. And the reason I'm excited for it is because I've long thought, given these tours, the adults were always talking over the children. The parents come in with their child to take a tour of the building, and the adults are speaking. Well, it's that child's journey. We've all been in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade before. So we want to put the children first and make it more about them. So my plan tomorrow is to actually follow with the parents, 50 feet behind the children, or maybe we'll just rip the Band-Aid off right away and go different directions and pass each other. But I want to make sure that child has an experience with his peers that kind of takes the adults away from it a little bit. These experiences are also occurring at the classroom level. I walked into Mrs. Lamoraco's room. She's one of our new 1st grade teachers. And when I walked into the class, she had 2 class ambassadors greet me at the door, welcome me to the class, and they escorted me to my seat. And the little girl poked the little boy and said, don't forget, we have to pull his chair up. And I sat down amazed, and it was great because they did this and their teacher was uninterrupted. She was able to continue the lesson while they were doing this. It's obviously something they rehearse, but it's that just putting it out there and seeing what they can do. We will always be amazed at what the children can do. They will always go above and beyond what we think they're capable of. We just have to give them the opportunities to do that. Again, as some of my colleagues have pointed out, our teachers recently participated in our Core 2 Leader in Me training. We all had 4 different developers because it obviously occurred on the same day, and they were equally fantastic, all 4 of them. In our next Leader in Me training, we're going to be discussing ways we can incorporate the Leader in Me lessons during our daily SEL period each morning. Thank you very much.
As Dr. Christie mentioned, we started our formal partnership with Leader in Me in July of 2021, and fortunately for me, I was able to start here just a few weeks later. And when I first started, I was not familiar with the 7 habits. I tried to become familiar with them very rapidly. It kind of led to me knowing habit 1, be proactive. And I found myself, no matter what was happening with any student, I said, I'm very proactive. You were very proactive. That's the first habit. Oh, you're being proactive. I just found that was the only one I could remember the first month of my first year. And what I realized pretty quickly was I had to start to become familiar with the 7 habits and the resources that were available on the in the program, which is what we kind of spent on my first year and last year doing, is just becoming familiar with the resources, becoming familiar with the website and all the. It's a very vast resource library, and there's some great lessons in there, but we had to become familiar again and kind of like re-energize ourselves in using that language more regularly. And now I know some of the other habits, which I'm very proud of. We also, like the other buildings, we implemented Leader in Me directly through the library, and we started to plan with our Lighthouse team in 21-22. So we started to meet, we developed a team of some key stakeholders in the building. We worked with the Leader in Me trainers who came in and kind of coached us, and we started to develop plans. We conducted a couple walkthroughs around the building to look for some high traffic areas and different ways that we could enhance our messaging throughout the year. So that was our plan last year. A lot of what we're doing is very closely aligned with the other buildings. So I'm not going to go through every single item of it just for the sake of not being too repetitive. So the 2 main areas that we're focusing on is goal setting and growing leaders among our schools. So in terms of goal setting, we're doing a lot of school-wide goals right now. A lot of them are tied to academics, and that's what we're really trying to push. That Leader in Me Core 2 training kind of connects the 7 habits with academic performance. So we're really trying to tie those into our academics. So we set some goals for the building and a couple different math programs that we're trying to achieve, and our students are keeping a scoreboard in the cafeteria and tracking their progress individually and as a whole building. And we're also using that concept of goal setting for our basic framework for students participating in parent-teacher conferences this year. We've enhanced our visuals throughout the building, and really, again, kind of going along the lines of we're just shifting our mindset in terms of some of the verbiage that we're using in terms of leadership opportunities. The other area that we're focusing on is growing leaders, and like my colleagues, we've been increasing our opportunities for students to have leadership positions in the school. Our Lighthouse team met a couple of times, and we came up with a few, I thought, really creative leadership opportunities. So we have, like Dr. Waka said, she has a Shark Cart, we have Shark Mart. It's a little similar. We have a small area downstairs that we use, and we have a position, Shark Mart leaders, and they come in there. It's in the process of being developed, but they're going to keep inventory and come up with promotions and new ideas, and that's just one area. We set up a leadership application center right in the lobby. It's one of the trophy cases. We kind of built it in. We put up all these different flyers, and we have paper applications that students can take and fill out and bring to the main office. We could funnel them to the right person, or I'm going to probably review a lot of them as well, and we're going to assign roles. And it's a good thing, so I think pretty much everyone that applies is going to get the job as long as they can answer the questions. But I think it's something that we're very excited about. I think it's going to continue to grow. We are planning on creating the leadership journals as my colleagues are doing the same thing. So that's for next year, for us to kind of really develop that targeted academic focus through this program. But I did want to leave you with one thing that I got just a couple of days ago. So it kind of tells you where we're at and where we're going. So I'm just going to read a quick email that I received a couple days ago. It says, "Good morning, Mr. Fabian. I am a student in Mrs. So-and-so's class. I was just interested and I wanted to apply for one of the leadership opportunities that you have offered. I would like to apply for assembly leaders. I believe that I'm suitable for this position because I'm very reliable, responsible, and I am hardworking. I show that I'm reliable by being able to be trusted and being able to get things where they need to be done. Next, I show responsibility by being trusted very greatly. For example, if you need me to set up anything for an assembly, you can trust that I can get it done responsibly. Last but not least, I show that I'm hardworking by getting a job done. I work efficiently, and when I start a job, I make sure the job gets done from start to finish as best as it can be done." As you can see, all these examples and reasons show that I feel that I am the right fit for this job. I hope that you see these reasons and accept my request for this job. Have a great day. So that was a really, you get an email like that in the middle of your day, no matter what is going on. We didn't give her the job, no, I'm just kidding. But to get that email in the middle of your day, when you're busy and things are moving all different directions, it just reminds you again why you're here and what we're doing. And to get that message from one of our students, it brings so much to you, and you realize what this program really, in a short time of just kind of formally working with them, what we can already start to do. And this is one of many applications that we have.
So just as I listen to my colleagues, it's quite remarkable the work that's been undertaken, and that's already underway. When I say in a short period of time, it's not necessarily a short period of time because we've been embedding this language for a long period of time, but we've come a long way in a short period of time with our formal partnership. And you know, I've guest hosted Mrs. Zambelli's assembly time, and those graphic organizers, they got me through that morning. So I want to thank you very much for those. And like leadership opportunities, you know, Dr. Watkins yesterday had our bus drivers in, you know, to talk about this partnership. And boy, I could sniff a bagel a mile away. So I knew the bus drivers were there and the bagels were there as well. So I was grateful for that. When we talk about our Core 2 journey this year, we would. It's all right.
A mile. Pretty far.
The Core 2 staff development is rooted in this goal setting that I talked a little bit about in the curriculum and instruction preview presentation in August. And it's these 4 disciplines of execution for our students and for our educators. You can apply this to your personal life, to your professional life, certainly to your academic life, and it's based on identifying evidence or data. So the X would be a lag measure. What is it what's the evidence or data that you have? And the Y is your goal. Like, where do you want to be? And then a date certain. So from X to Y, by when? And then you establish what they refer to as a wildly important goal. That's the first of the measures. Then you establish the lead measures, the action steps. What are you going to do in order to achieve that Y by the date certain? Then you need what they refer to as a compelling scoreboard. And in our staff development, they will tell you that within 5 seconds, you should be able to tell, based on your scoreboard, whether you're moving towards your goal or away from your goal. And lastly, and that's what we're growing here this evening and every single day in our schools, and that's a cadence of accountability. Accountability partners, from Lighthouse teams to our grade levels, to our individual classes, and to our students, and really establishing, this check-in process that we make sure that we're looking at our compelling scoreboard, our lead measures, and comparing it in relationship to our wildly important goal. It is a phenomenal framework for any one of us, whether we're 5 or 55 or 75, to use to support growth in our lives. And I'll just end with this. This is the Leader in Me journey map, and it really is a journey. It has a beginning, but I'll say there really is no end. And so we're in our second year of our core staff development. Next year, we'll be fully implementing, we're looking to fully implement leadership journals. And then following your third year of core staff development, you can apply, if you choose to be what's referred to as a lighthouse school. But I'd say, you know, that's not necessarily a designation, that's really an affirmation. If we choose as individual schools to apply and have a group from Leader in Me come in and assess essentially, you know, are we walking the walk we say we are, and examine and kind of uncover those big rocks and give us feedback on our journey, and then you can be designated as a lighthouse school. You know, and you know, in that instance, you know, comes a great amount of responsibility, because if you choose and are selected to be a lighthouse school, you have to open up your doors, and that's what keeps this going. Now you've opened up your doors to schools from local to region to the state to the nation, and then they can come in and see your process, and your boys and girls will be leading those days when schools come in to see what's happening. And you know, that's the journey we're on, and we're really excited about it.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from fellow board members?
I wish we could think about how we as a board can start incorporating the 7 habits into our work as well. Maybe get on board with their monthly habits or something.
I can certainly look to purchase a couple of the books from Covey Institute and share them with you. I know we have some extras, so it's familiarizing yourself with that language. And then also, we also have one of the things like Dr. Christie was just talking about with regard to goals and goal setting is something that we could work on as well. And I know that's something that we spent a lot of time at the last meeting talking about, but yeah, it is something that becomes school-wide and has an impact throughout the district. And you know, you heard Mr. Jackson talking about it. Parents will be speaking about it and the languages about it. So it really becomes extremely powerful. So that's absolutely something to do. I know when I was over at Eastport Elementary, we started just with a book talk. Here's the book, read a chapter, and somebody would turn key. You know, I read chapter 1 with so-and-so, and they would facilitate a discussion on it. And then the next 2 people everyone would read, and you know, so there's very simple ways that we could get going with regard to ourselves on that. And I think it's a great idea. I do want to say one of the things, you know, it's a very interesting thing because it has been something that's, I would say, been around for a long time at ESM, and it's had starts and stops, and you know, without going through the whole history. But now that we have this partnership, this is the strongest that we've had it. We're out of COVID, so we actually can have people live as opposed to virtually, which is going to make a great impact. The work of the Lighthouse teams at the buildings has been phenomenal. From what you hear, it's the principals and those leadership teams that are moving these things forward. And I keep getting slowed down because, as Dr. Christie talked about, we first became, as administrators years ago, introduced this by visiting the school. And if I shared this already, I apologize, but one of the most powerful things I saw, like, wow, this is unbelievable, was, you know, just like Mr. Jackson said, you go in on these days, kids run the whole day when they open these doors up, go to a classroom, student greets me at the door, the little 3rd grader sits down and opens up her leadership journal and starts going over with me what her grades are, what her plan is to improve her grades, and what her goal is, goal first, and then the plan to reach those goals. And not even batting an eye, showing me her data, what the data means, and why she's going to be able to get to this point. It's unbelievable. So one of the things as we've made this partnership, I keep saying, when do we get to the leadership journals? Because I see the impact and power of that. they keep slowing me down, saying, we're not there yet, we gotta go through the training, we gotta get there, and it'll eventually get there, and I'm really excited, because I can see when it starts cooking with gas, that's where we will be at with our students. But we have a lot of the things in place, and that's where you heard that expression from Dr. Christie about the mortar that goes into place. We have data with our students. It was presented to you. All of the teachers have it. The principals have gone over the data with the district office. The principals review it with the building, the teachers in the building. The teachers review the individual data from iReady and those formative assessments with them. So now the next step, we'll start up next year, will be these leadership journals, because the boys and girls will be setting goals. They're already working on setting those goals, but it'll be locked in to this formal leadership journal. So there's a lot to look forward to, and we're just at the beginning of it, and it's going to be great. It's going to take off. It's going to be awesome.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
Very
much.
much.
Yeah, the leadership that you folks are providing is a great example for these children, so thank you so much. Just keep the little ones away from the seat, because I don't need to be ousted by an elementary student. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No.
All right, so on to business, warrants and claims. We're just going to accept the warrants and claims reports.
Actually, Mr. President, I do have a question about those warrants and claims reports.
We need, yeah, Mr. Lowry, give us 1 minute.
Just accept it.
Okay.
Move on, I'll ask the question when he comes back. We'll return to it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can we do
I
that?
didn't even see him leave.
Yeah, okay.
He's sneaky.
All right. So we're going to go on to personnel.
And I mean sneaky in a way he just snuck it out.
Yes, Mr. Goldhammer.
This is why
What are you
the 30
doing?
second delay.
Yes. Unbelievable, Mr. Goldhammer.
Maybe Charlie can cut that.
Well, listen, that was you and Dr. Christie are up for biggest laugh of the night with that and the bagel comment. There he is, Mr. Lauby. We have a question for you, sir. Mr. Goldhammer does. We're talking about the warrants and claims reports. Mr. Goldhammer has a question for you.
I'm sorry, you walk very quietly.
Never ask a question. One time.
The one time.
One time.
What are we renting? I'm just wondering if we need an equipment purchase. There's United Rentals and Herc Rentals, like consistently renting. I'm just asking. You can get back to me later.
I'll have to. I mean, there's smaller rentals during the year, like we might rent a lift for something to do something outside. I'd have to look. You're seeing a check that was written to.
Yeah, 5123 and 5888.
1600 codes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be facilities.
Okay. I'm just wondering what we're renting if we might want to add a purchase in to next year's budget.
Well, we do look at those things throughout the year. There's an economic advantage to buying as opposed to renting. It could be something that we're just doing so sporadically, it would be worth a purchase.
Okay.
It's something, I'll find out what that one particular purchase is, that payment is for.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty, so we're going to go on to personnel. Can I get a motion for a consent agenda for items 1 through 13?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? No? No, we don't discuss this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. So we have resignations as listed. Leave of absence as listed. Appointment for teacher. Teaching assistants as listed. Permanent substitute teachers as listed. Per diem substitutes as listed. Civil service as listed. Extracurricular activities as listed. Interscholastic appointments as listed. Supplemental pay as listed. Teacher aide special education stipends as listed. Student teacher observer internships as listed. Thank you. All right, public participation, first invitation, but I was told we don't have anybody. So we'll move on to old business. Old business, we're going to get an update on the, ESM admin building?
Yes. Maybe we could just kind of combine it with a facilities committee report.
Yep.
So at the last meeting, I asked Mr. Lowby to just update us, the facilities committee, which is me and Mr. San Marco. We had a meeting on Monday at 6, and what everyone has in their supporting documentation is an update on the building improvement summary. The estimates for each line item, there's items 1 through 9 on here for a total of $226,806 of building improvements. Now, some of these, none of these improvements are at this time board approved, besides the one that was already started because of necessity, and that was the boiler. We toured the building. We were actually shown the boiler. It looks to be done very well. It was all done with in-house solutions, which is great because years back we didn't have any plumbers. But with all the leaks we had, we hired a bunch of plumbers, and they did a very good job on fixing those leaks, and also now replacing the boiler in the old admin building.
Who was in attendance? Just curious.
In attendance at the meeting were myself, Mrs. San Marco, James O'Connor, and Mr. Lowby. We had a walkthrough of the building at 6 o'clock, then we came back to district office for the public meeting at 6:30, which we looked around, but nobody attended. But we continued talking about what's on the building improvement summary, and at this point, unless any other board members have questions, the facilities committee does not have any recommendations yet. Mr. San Marco?
At this time, I have nothing.
Thank you. Mr. Lowry, did you want to add anything to that?
Nothing to add. Mr. Goldhammer summed it up.
Thank you, Mr. Goldhammer, Mr. Lowry, Mr. San Marco, and Mr. O'Connor for taking a look at that in that committee. Thank you. New business, can I get a motion for a consent agenda for items 1 through 10?
Motion.
New business is supposed to be a consent agenda. It should be. It's not listed.
Unless we have to pull something, it can be a consent agenda.
Yeah. Did anybody want to pull anything?
Yes, I'm just going to pull 4.
4, okay. So we'll pull item number 4. All right, anybody else?
I just have a question about one today.
Okay, so we'll do a discussion in a moment. Anyone else to pull in? No? Okay, so can I get a motion for consent agenda for new business items 1, 2, 3, 5 through 10?
Motion.
All right, discussion. Ms. Pastor.
Yeah, I just had a question about the change order for the capital project, specifically what was the one for South Street School? Sorry, it's like not popping up on my computer right now, of course. So we're doing a partial roof replacement, and they're adding 900 square feet to the order for the roof replacement. And I was just wondering what the original, I went through my calculations, it was about like $1,000 a square foot, like added on to top of the price. So I was just wondering how that compared to the initial price of what we were quoted before this additional 900.
Tim, you able to speak to that?
Sure, I can.
Yeah.
The total price for South Street, hold on. For the project for the roof replacement was $847,750. That's on page 3 of the document that's in your backup there.
Okay. And do we know how much square footage that encompasses?
I don't have it listed here, but I can get that for you.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'm just curious how the numbers compare to the
Sure.
initial. Yeah.
This was, as they go through the project, they find, then they're pulling up the roof, they find more parts that they have to fix. There are retainage, so there's money in the project, so in case we come across something like that, we can fix it. That did happen in both roofs that we repaired. The high school roof that we repaired, we didn't spend it all, so we're moving some of that money, we're deducting off of that contract, putting onto the South Street contract.
Okay, thank you.
And also, just to add to that, Ms. Pastor, Mr. O'Connor me and Mrs. San Marco asked about the roofing projects in general because of the necessity for them to be done for the solar and everything else. And Mr. O'Connor at the meeting actually went in detail about, because we said, when you look at the cost of the roofing, right? And you think of like a traditional lay-down membrane roof or just a simple flat roof, you see the cost, you're like, wow, this is it's almost $1 million. And then what Mr. O'Connor really went into detail about, these projects encompass not just the changing of the roof surface, but actually going down through the support and the Q decks, which are the supports underneath. In some of the other, in Eastport, for example, and I think South Street is the same thing, we actually have supporting members of the roof that need to actually be removed and rebuilt, plus some of the parapet walls that run around the roof. So it's a bit of a more in-depth process than just going on to a structurally sound roof and just doing a waterproofing system and making sure everything works. So there's a little bit more information. We could have the facilities committee look into that if you'd want to, and we could bring it
No, I was
back.
just curious about, I appreciate you sharing that information. Not one of my areas of specialty,
You stand-
roof, so yeah, no, thanks for sharing that.
All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry, any other discussion? I apologize, I should have thrown that.
I think Ms. Racca pulled one.
Oh, yeah, no, but we're going to come back to that one. So all in favor for, it was 1, 2, 3, and then 5 through 10.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
I'm not opposed.
Yeah, you're not opposed.
You're just too fast.
Yes, sorry. All in favor, but passes unanimously. Let's move on. Throw me off, Mr. Goldhammer. All right, so item number 4, we pulled that. Can I get a motion for the Board of Education to approve the following service contracts for Rapid Technologies, ADT, BOCES, Developmental Disabilities Institute, Just Kids, Early Learning Center, Milnick Manor School for the Deaf, NISARC, Inc., Suffolk Chapter, Center Merchant School District, Westside Union Free School District, and Security Voice.
Motion.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
All right. Passes. Thank you.
Can I just make a comment? In item number 9 was the shared decision-making district-wide plan. I just, for the public's benefit, this procedure requires us to post it for 30 days for comment. And I know a lot of people were asking questions about those committees and how they work. So I just wanted to bring to the attention of the community that it will be on the district website for 30 days if anyone would like to review it or make a comment.
Thank you. Yes, that's very important. Thank you, Ms. Costanza. Appreciate you pointing that out. All right. Student services, special education recommendation. We're just going to acknowledge and accept the decisions already made by the Committee on Special Education. We'll move on to reports. The capital project update. Mr. Lauby.
Well, so we continue to do regular meetings discussing scope being what is going to be in the project, and several of the things we've gone over since our last meeting. Today we had a meeting regarding our ball fields, the softball and baseball fields, and one of the exciting parts we saw today was a change in not put chain link fence behind home plate, was to go with the netting system that is all weather, has a very long shelf life, and I think looks very sharp, and we're very excited about that change. That part of the scope we reviewed this week. Also this week we, I don't remember what covered about Makerspace. We looked at Makerspace designs for our elementary schools, and
Technology, we just had a meeting with
technology.
with the architects to talk about the different things that are needed in the makerspace, as well as information that they needed with, to make recommendations to the architects with regard to the security booths, what would be needed as far as security at those booths. So we're coming to the final stages of a lot of the things and wrapping it up, because I know they want to submit to the state for this next section, so pretty close.
Thank you. Any other board committee updates? We did hear from facilities.
I have something here, please. I would like to make a request, without objection from Mrs. Pastor or anyone else on the board. I would like to volunteer to co-chair the policy committee with her, since policy is our purview and it is a lot of work and she's kind of been left on her own. I think it would be helpful to have a second person to share the load.
No, I agree. No objection there for me.
Oh, I thought you enjoyed doing that by yourself. Any objection, Mr. San
That would be
Marco?
great.
No?
Thank you.
I think, yeah, I think that sounds great. Thank you, Ms. Costanza, for stepping up and doing that. Thank you, Ms. Pastor, for the work you've been doing.
Thank you.
All right.
I just want to go back to the goal-setting committee, because we spoke about that last time. We spoke about putting together a date. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't choose a date yet because we want to identify who from the district is going to be on the committee, and that's kind of where we're at, right? Did we want to reach out to
McPherson?
Not Pearson.
Yeah, and I actually, that was something that I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'll send an email to him.
And would we have them come to a retreat, or what do you?
Yeah, I think he comes at a later point after the, but we want to ask him a little bit more
Ask
information
him some
about.
more information,
Okay.
right, yeah. And then
Maybe we can schedule a meeting and conference him in and have a conversation just to play a
Yeah, and he could come down for like a night meeting as well, to put in like 3 or 4 hours with us, he also shared. So, one of the first things I think we can ask him is next steps and like a timeline.
Do you want me to have him reach out to you? Do you want to, I can ask him to give you a call if you have specific questions. That way I'm not speaking on your behalf.
Sure, yeah, we could just, because then we can just have next steps going, so that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Sure, that'd be great.
Sounds good. I'll send an email. I'll CC everybody on that.
Perfect,
Okay.
perfect.
All right, so let me get back to my agenda. All right, so public participation, second invitation. I don't think we have anybody. And then ESM Pride acknowledgements. I just want to take a minute to say thank you to ESM SEPTO and the ESM PTSO for these amazing gifts that you provided us. We do appreciate you taking the time to to acknowledge us, and thank you. You guys do an amazing job, and we appreciate from the board level everything that you do for our district. Any ESM pride?
So I attended the 5-day play challenge twice, and it was, as usual, phenomenal. Always impresses. It's impressive because students write the plays, and then they direct the plays, and they do everything else that they would normally do with a production. But in 5 days, they wrote, directed, blocked, costumes, lighting, the whole thing in 5 days. And the themes of these plays, they can get very deep. You know, the content is really good. And I think it was, one of the plays was actually selected by the high school to show to the entire school, right? I think Mr. Lemo made time for that because the content was just so good. So that was awesome. Oh, and I did go to the Wizards as well. There's a few of you there. And the energy, I mean, it's so loud. The energy is amazing. The kids really enjoy that, so I'm glad we brought that back. Thank you to the parent organizations for putting that together.
I attended the Halloween bash at Dayton Avenue. I want to say thank you to, I believe the PTSA for South Street put a lot of that together. But also I want to say thank you to Dr. Watkins and just acknowledge something for a moment. You know, buildings full of kids, full of adults, music, everyone's having a great time. A fire alarm goes off. And what was amazing is, you know, for me, it was a little awkward for me because I was there as a parent. I'm walking around the building, fire alarm goes off, and I went into teacher mode in a second, like everybody out. And then I realized, you don't work here, James, you can't tell people to get out. And then I realized people are gonna look at you and say, what are you doing? Like, you're overstepping. But I was like, we gotta get out, we gotta get out. And all the kids were like looking like, let's go to the doors. And Dr. Watkins popped up, boom, took over the announcements, telling people what to do. They cut the music in the gym, and she took over. It was great. Thank you for your leadership in that moment, Dr. Watkins. And the kids appreciate it. I went looking for my kid and a couple other kids that I knew that were there, and they were sitting by the door. And I said to my son, I said, like, how'd you know why did you go over here? He goes, well, we know that we're supposed to leave the building, but we didn't have adults with us, so we were waiting for it. I was like, okay. So it's you know, the kids are listening, so it's great. So thank you, Dr. Watkins, and all your staff and everyone for putting that together. It was a great time. Thank you.
And for clarification, there was not a fire.
No,
it was fog machines.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I should have said that.
Clarity, thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, no fire. There was no fire. Anybody else? Yes, some pride. Yes, Mr. Simmons.
I just want to give a second special thank you to Kayla Mara.
Yeah.
As a combat vet, hearing a young woman sing that song tears me up. It really does. Coming right after Veterans Day, broke my heart out of my chest in a good way. Made me very proud to be here. Just want to say thank you.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. San Marco. Anything else this evening? No, I think that's it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.